From Utah.
Mr. President, last week I came to the Senate floor no fewer than 3 times and invited my colleagues to pass bills to protect millions of Americans at risk of losing their jobs, their livelihoods, due to President Biden's COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Unfortunately, due to objections from the other side of the aisle, these bills were not adopted. But I committed then, as I do again today, that I'll be back with additional proposals for as long as it takes to beat this sweeping mandate. Since I began this effort against the mandate, there's been a massive outpouring of support from across the country. I've heard from Americans in countless sectors from multiple states who are at risk of losing their jobs. These Americans just want to make their own medical decisions, a right that has always been afforded and not challenged since the beginning of our nation. In Utah alone, I've heard from no fewer than 184 people who are at risk of losing their livelihoods. They and so many others, those who share the same concerns, are our neighbors, they're everyday Americans, and they have legitimate medical concerns about getting the vaccine. But President Biden doesn't care. He said simply, this isn't about freedom or personal choice. Well, to the millions of Americans who face the punishment of being made unemployable if they do not succumb to the president's will, this very much is about freedom and personal choice. There must be a more reasonable answer. There must be a more compassionate answer. The COVID-19 vaccine has been deemed generally safe. I don't dispute that. In fact, I, along with my entire family, have been vaccinated. I see the development of these vaccines as a miracle and a blessing. But there are some people with pre-existing conditions or complications. Many of these individuals have been advised by their trusted board-certified doctors that they should not receive the vaccine. These Americans they deserve to be able to make their own medical decisions, and they should not be forced by the President of the United States to go against the advice of their doctors. Now, let's look down the road at what will necessarily follow this vaccine mandate. Countless Americans who follow the recommendations of their doctors will lose their jobs in an already troubled economy. These individuals and families will not be just unemployed. The President of the United States would deem them unemployable, second-class pariahs. Businesses that dare to employ the unvaccinated would be subject to crippling fines and risk closure. The President of the United States, unilaterally, without any say from the people's representatives in Congress, is set on imposing financial destruction on many American families and businesses. He's even targeting those with complicating medical conditions and forcibly removing them from the economy and much of broader society. So today, I'm offering the Senate an option to take a more compassionate, reasonable approach. My bill, the Your Health Comes First Act, would exempt from the President's mandate individuals with personal health concerns related to the vaccine. Simply put, Americans who are worried about how the vaccine would interact with or compound their existing medical difficulties would not be obligated to get it. Those who have been advised by their doctors not to get the vaccine due to pre-existing medical conditions would not be forced to go against the recommendations of their doctor. This bill is a reasonable and a compassionate solution to allow concerned Americans the dignity and autonomy we all deserve. This isn't the only flaw with the mandate. As I've said before, the President lacks authority to do this. Neither the federal government in general nor the President of the United States in particular has the power under the Constitution to implement a broad mandate of this sort. Whether you think government ought to be mandating it or not, whether you think government ought to force people out of their jobs if they refuse to get it or not, That is a different, analytically distinct question in our constitutional system from whether the federal government has the authority generally or the president in particular has the authority. It doesn't, and he does not. These arguments need to remain at the forefront of the conversation. Questions regarding the constitutionality and the constitutional authority to issue this in the first place. I'll be back tomorrow with another proposal, and I'll be at this for as long as it takes to end this unconstitutional and uncompassionate mandate. Mr. President, as if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions be discharged from further consideration of S-2848, and that the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration. I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?